Hello, everybody. It is great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion. Also, Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. We believe in GSD that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. With that, I have an incredible guest and friend, Michael Flight, who's the CEO at Liberty Real Estate Fund. He's dubbed the Godfather of blockchain real estate by Forbes Crypto, is a serial entrepreneur and pioneer in real estate tokenization. He co-founded the Liberty Real Estate Fund, the world's first net lease security token fund, and created the Blockchain Real Estate Summit. With a career spanning back to 1985, Michael's expertise lies in real estate investment, capital markets, and blockchain. He's also behind ventures like Invest on Main, IOM.ai, and AcceleratedLaw, revolutionizing security offerings. Stay tuned for this latest venture, Arterial, an art marketplace network leveraging art and blockchain technology. With that, I'd like to bring my good friend Michael on board. Hi, Michael. How are you today?
Hey, Gary. It's fantastic to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. So did I miss anything?
You probably could have skipped like over half of it, but no, thank you very much.
Well, you've been around the block a while. 1985. How did you get started in 1985, Michael?
My brother and I went to a real estate nothing down seminar, like one of those Carlton Sheets guys or something.
Dave Delgado?
Something like that. They were doing like the infomercials on TV, and so I was like still in college, and we thought we could buy real estate nothing down, but it gave me the real estate bug, and I became a real estate broker, and then eventually we've partnered with some of the largest hedge funds and financial institutions in the world.
So how did you so here you are as a student, and so what was your first experience? Did you get a deal right away, or did you get anything with no money down like that?
No, the problem was the broker that we went into says, those guys just tell you that stuff to sell their books and everything. But, there's almost nobody doing that. And that kind of like stopped us right there. But what I ended up doing was going and getting my broker's license. And the guy that was teaching the broker's license, he also was a local investor that bought apartment buildings in Chicago. So I ended up getting a job with him, and then graduating, ended up getting a job, in like 2 years with a really large syndicator. They own 270 shopping centers nationwide. And from that, the relationships I gained there, once the savings and loan crisis hit and everything crashed, I had relationships with people that went into large institutions, and so we just started joint venturing together. So, yeah,
that's amazing. So, as you went down through this journey, I remember the guys from Dave Delgado was would lay sheetrock. He got in trouble, I think, though. So there was some kind of deal, but he would lay sheetrock, and I remember Carlton Sheets. But I got to tell you, as crazy as it is, one of my buddies got about 55 to 60 single family houses now, and apartment complexes and stuff. And I remember he had those tapes, because we would listen to those tapes, the cassette tapes in his car. He would play them all the time. And he actually went out and started buying real estate, and he made a lot of money on it. Most people don't realize that, the greatest wealth creator is real estate, right? It's not, it's because there's not enough of it, and there's a lot more people all the time.
Right. And, it's real, and it's a state. So like I have a lot of conversations with my crypto buddies. I'm like, you might think that Bitcoin is finite, and it could be, and, hopefully it's digital gold and everything, but they're not making any more real estate except in Dubai.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a lot more people on the planet. So there's going to be, more and more valuable. Right.
Yeah. And the other thing is that, there's a lot of like really valuable properties, like, as you said, earlier today, that you were in the desert, And that's probably not going to be valuable land, but where people want to live, where population is expanding, and where there's certain amount of freedom where people can choose to like create things and do things, there's going to be real high value in real estate.
Yeah, no, I got you. So tell us a little bit about it. What's your journey? So you went down through that, you became a broker. How did you get the bug to become an entrepreneur?
I was laid off, and I had job offers, but I would have had to move. And I saw that if I, moved to someplace else in, the rest of the United States, that I would be 6 months down the road, and then I'd be laid off someplace where then I'd have to like find the money to move back to. And so just started the company, and about a month later, a buddy of mine, was laid off. So we started the company together. So three of us started the company in 1990 and never looked back.
And how's the company now? What kind of revenue do you guys have? How big is the company?
We've pared it down a little bit. We at one point had more than 50 employees, but now we've pared it down because I can do most of my stuff, and we can do it with, contract laborers. We're working with people all over the world now. And so we don't have to have that big of a footprint.
Where do you find the people, Michael? That's interesting. Like what countries, what kind of people do you find in what countries?
We're working with people from the Philippines, and they do a lot of our VA stuff. They do a lot of our, online, property management and things like that.
And
We
how much
love.
does it cost? What's the differential for like the Philippines, compared to somebody in the US? What's the cost differential?
Well, I've actually had the people that are working for me in the Philippines working for me for more than 5 years, so I'm paying them more than average. You can hire somebody in the Philippines for $7. We're paying our people in the Philippines anywhere from $10 to $12, and we can get excellent technical people doing websites and graphics and things out of Romania in the 17 to $25 an hour. And if you want like higher technical stuff, we're getting people out of Ukraine. We're working with some people out of Slovakia and Slovenia. And then we're also working with people out of Colombia because they're on, close to the same time zone we are. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have a lot of folks from the Philippines and GSD too, because it's just a cost savings. So I was, and I think sometimes we forget it. I mean, people are trying to come in and, they're looking for a job, and if their job costs 5 times more than it's going to cost you to find somebody, or 4 times more in some other country, it's hard to make the decision to go with them, right?
It's not only the cost factor, because I'll tell you this, because I've hired and we've had more than 40 interns come through here since 1990, and they're people that are in real estate studies, because there's great, there's DePaul here, there's University of Chicago here, and there's Champaign-Urbana. So we've and also Wisconsin has a great real estate department. So we've had interns, but it's sometimes it's the work ethic. I just had a conversation with one of our American employees last week. And, I'm like, well, we need to do this, this, and this. And she told me, well, that's your truth. And I'm like, well, honestly, there's only one truth around here right now, unless you can change my mind. So, and I'm not looking to debate this. And so I don't get that. I mean, and we've got like one person working out of Bulgaria, and just, I don't have to worry about, whether I have to check the information or not, because I know that it's meticulously done, because we can, she does all our underwriting, and we can get the stuff because they're 8 hours ahead. We send her the stuff, and in the morning at 9 o'clock, it's done. But there's also all kinds of questions. And she's even like looking at some of the stuff the broker puts in, and she's like, well, the broker didn't add this stuff right, and this stuff isn't correct. So you're going to have to ask these questions in order for us to underwrite it properly.
Wow, that's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
so they're actually, and so how do you think the world's shifting in terms of, it's interesting because I see that there's a lot of demand for people from all over the world. And how's it shifted for you? I mean, do you go first to the Philippines or Bulgaria or Romania to look for employees now, or
Right
contractors?
now I get most of our stuff through referrals. So, if we're looking for somebody else says, "Oh, do you want to work with my friend over here too?" So, I haven't. When I originally started out, I have to credit Tim Ferriss, the 4-day work week, and I had never heard of Upwork or anything like that. But I was actually way earlier because only now are a lot of real estate companies coming around. It's like, oh, you can hire people outside the United States, and fractionalize a lot of your stuff. But yeah, we used Upwork and we used Fiverr, but I haven't really had to go to them for at least 3 years or so because I just get so many great referrals, or I meet people that are doing things. I'm like, well, we need this stuff done. Do you guys think you can do this as well?
Wow, that's great. That's amazing. So going down through it, so are you originally from Chicago? Or are you from Wisconsin? It sounded a little Wisconsinish when you were speaking. Where are you
Uh,
from originally?
we're definitely not from Wisconsin. If you listen to the old Saturday Night Live guys when they're talking about brats and the Bears and Coach Ditka, that's my west side of Chicago accent coming out. So yes, I'm originally from Chicago.
Oh, wow. And so, you're on this journey. So how, we talk about raising capital and equity with security token offerings. How is it?
Well, I first got into it because some guys. I'm involved with a startup country called Liberland, which is where also meet a lot of people internationally. It's all online. They just had their 9th anniversary over the weekend.
What is it?
Uh, it's called Liberland. It's a startup country, and all the governance is on blockchain.
And where are they located?
It is in between. It's a little island in between Serbia and Croatia. So
No kidding. It's called Lieberland.
yes, and
Never heard of it. That's amazing. Is it, and how big is it?
Uh, the actual island is, measured in small kilometers, but the diaspora, for people that have, worked their way towards citizenship, I think it's up around 5 or 10,000 citizens, and I want to say tens of thousands of residents. So normally at this point time in the conversation, I take out my Liberland ID card and show you the Liberland ID
Are
card.
you
But
have a passport? Are you a Lieberland citizen now?
I have my passport coming. So
Wow, and is it a real European Union passport?
uh, it's some people have gotten through checkpoints because they think it's Liberia, so they just let it go through. But it hasn't been officially recognized by too many states, but we're working on it. And through that, I got to work with some guys out of Romania that were doing an ICO, and it was a real estate ICO, and they needed some real estate credibility. So I went through their white paper, and it had the word awesome in it 400 times. So we rewrote their white paper. But these guys ended up raising, they had no experience whatsoever in real estate. And it was around 2018. And they raised about $1.2 million. And so I'm like, if these guys can raise $1.2 million doing this, I should be able to raise $1 billion. But that's when I ran into U.S. securities laws. So we had to, kind of modify what we were doing to
What
comply with.
happened with that, Michael? What are the U.S. securities laws like around it?
The U.S. securities laws is that if you're telling somebody that you're going to get a profit and you're using other people's money to get a profit, there's a thing called the Howey test. And so everything that we do, we were already, following securities laws with our syndications. And so it turns out, but it's a great thing. It turns out that the SEC recognizes tokenized securities and that you can actually trade real estate shares. And most of these real estate shares and private equity shares and hedge fund shares are really illiquid. But with tokenization, it makes those tradable. The other really cool thing is that most of our investors, that when you initially invest in our deals, you have to be an accredited investor. But the cool thing, and the SEC has weighed in on this, is that after a 1-year lockup period, those shares can trade to accredited or non-accredited investors, so that you're opening up a larger investment pool, and you're allowing people that wouldn't have exposure to this, because there's really too little accredited investors. I think there needs to be way more people that are allowed to invest in things that they want to invest in. But it opens it up so that they can get into, high cash flow, tax advantage, all kinds of things, or they can get into VC funds like yourself.
Yeah, no, I think it sounds incredibly interesting. So how do you go down through? So tell us a little bit about, how you're approaching it today. Let's talk about, what the market looks like. Is it growing? Is it down? I mean, what's the future of this? Let's talk about that.
Well, tokenization has been the next big thing since I want to say like 2018. But we're finally seeing, BlackRock just did a large tokenization. KKR it has tokenized one of their funds. There's a lot of different, bond funds. Europe and outside the United States, it's way more active than the United States. But we're seeing a lot of great things. I'm helping some guys put together a tokenization platform and exchange for East European properties. So it's going to cover, Hungary, Slovakia, Romania, Bulgaria. And so we're pretty excited about that. I think that's really going to take off. And then also, we're working with some guys that are finalizing one of the largest developments in El Salvador. It's going to be a fantastic resort development, and they're finalizing that. And we're working with them because they said, since El Salvador accepts Bitcoin, and there's so many people that are like crypto heavy and really into, crypto, we want to tokenize a portion of this $1 billion offering. So working with working with another group, they're tokenizing a resort in Uruguay. So, and what we do is we also have the Blockchain Real Estate Summit. And so last year was 3 days. We did it in 3 different time zones, and we had speakers.
Did you do that online, or where did you do it, Michael?
Well, the first 2 were in Austin, Texas, in person, and there's just, it's more of an international thing. So we did it online. And we had speakers from 47 different countries. And we did the first day for the European time zone, second day for the Asian time zone, third day for the Americas. And, it's just growing, and it's really growing outside the United States.
That's great. What countries are the fastest growing right now?
I would say Singapore probably has the best laws, and the people that are like really interested in doing this. The other really active market is Brazil. There's a huge, active tokenization market in Brazil. And then the other thing is we're seeing a lot in Europe, because with the new MiCA regulations, they've, kind of said this is where, and Switzerland is also a really good country with a lot of things going.
So if somebody comes to you, like, what would they come to you for? How can you help them?
What we can do is we can help them raise capital. And if you're raising capital in the United States, we can actually connect them with non-U.S. investors in a legal manner. And outside the United States, which I think is the highest growth area, where, really it's, if you've got property outside the United States and you're looking to tokenize it, that's where things are really taking off. So there's a company in the United States called Realty. It's realty.co. And those guys have tokenized really crummy houses on the south side of Chicago and Detroit, but they've got raving fans from France. So most of their investors are non-U.S. investors, and they've already got like 100 million in.
Wait a minute. So they take a home in Chicago, the south side of Chicago, and then tokenize it, and the investors come from all over the world?
Yes, and they've crammed in some of their deals. They've crammed up to 1,700 investors in a deal that's, below $600,000. The most impressive one to me was a house in Detroit. I think they got like more than 700 investors in a like $65,000 house in Detroit.
So how does that work? So you get those investors. How much does it cost them to get into the deal? Do you make $1 million for a $75,000 house, or how's it work?
No, they invest in, I think the minimum investment is like $10. So they've got these raving fans all over the world that they're primarily French speaking investors. But they're getting, returns, and this is not investment advice or anything, but they're getting returns up above, 10%. So people that have like, $10 to invest, it's like, oh, I'll throw this into it. But the really cool thing about tokenization, which you cannot do with, a regular paper share, is you could actually lock your, token into a DeFi protocol and borrow against it. So you can not only have liquidity by selling, but you can also have liquidity by borrowing against it. So you get kind of like margin what you would have on stocks.
Wow, that's amazing. So what's your future like? What are you going to do next? So where does this go?
I'm gonna try and expand the tokenization part of it, and really, try and expand it. The thing that I'm really motivated by, Gary, is I think that there's more than 4 billion people without stable money in the world, and there's more than 1 billion people without bank accounts in the world. And if they could just put their money into cash flowing real estate and into something stable, you disintermediate banks, because what's a bank's business model? A bank's business model is you put your money into a savings account and they go loan against it. So why not just go directly and put your money into the real estate? So if somebody can save money, in real estate, I mean, and this is really when you went back to like how incredible real estate is, and it's created more, millionaires in the world. This is like people put their money in land to, preserve their money, preserve their wealth, and pass it on to other people, or use it, to borrow against it, and then you can start a business.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds great.
yeah.
And so if you look at it, what kind of folks are coming into this? Because sounds like a incredibly open opportunity, but it's kind of like Bitcoin, right? People didn't understand what it was all about. I remember it was like $800 a Bitcoin, and
Right.
people didn't get it. Now where are we? Right? It's unbelievable.
Right. And so the people that are most interested in it are people that understand that real estate is a way to preserve wealth, and also that are like flexible and know how to do crypto. The main problem with tokenization right now is that most platforms force you to open up a MetaMask wallet. And we won't even get into that, but it's like really difficult to figure out how to do a crypto wallet, and did I do it right and everything. So once it's as easy as like logging in, you get an account, and it's like, oh, this is what I own. That's when I think it's really going to take off. And I also think it's going to take off more in places without sound money. And it's going to take off, and it is taking off, because when we did our first deal with Liberty Fund, the most interest was coming from places like Turkey, Venezuela, Argentina, because they knew that if they could just put their money in something that at least would hold value and give them, the cash flow, and then, the potential to appreciate, which is real estate does all those. I think it's going to change a lot of people, in terms of how they save their money and how they invest their money, and how they preserve their money.
No, I think it's great. Listen, Michael, we're coming up to the top of the show. Closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
Well, Gary, this went so fast, but every time I talk to you, like, a half hour is just like 5 minutes. But thank you very much. If somebody wants to get a hold of me, they can contact us at libertyfund.io. That's libertyfund.io. And, you can find me on LinkedIn, Michael J. Flight, and I'm on all the social media. So, but I love, I was named Godfather of blockchain real estate by one of the Forbes crypto editors, Dustin Plantholt. So I can't claim that. Dustin said, you need a name, because he called himself the Count of Monte Crypto. And so he goes, we're going to call you the Godfather of blockchain real estate. I'm like, well, you're just doing that because I got gray hair, man. So
no, it's fantastic, and it's amazing how the world's changing with it.
Yes. So thank you very much, Gary. Appreciate everything you do for the, venture capital and startup community.
No, and how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way?
They can go to libertyfund.io and go to the contact page, or contact me directly on LinkedIn, Michael J. Flight on LinkedIn.
All right. Sounds great, Michael. Thanks. I appreciate your time. And thank you, everybody, for joining one more time. GSD presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. And my name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And I'll be back again soon with another exciting edition. Thank you, everybody.